And if everyone will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone to the May 7th meeting of the Goffstown Zoning Board of Adjustment. The Goffstown Zoning Board of Adjustment is an elected board made up of 5 members and up to 5 appointed alternates. Currently we have 5 members and 1 alternate. We always need more alternates. If you're interested in it, please come and to Town Hall and see the Planning and Zoning Office. The board has a posted agenda for each meeting and tends to follow the items in order. The board will open a public hearing on an application to receive testimony from applicants, abutters, and affected parties, and ask questions about the appeal. The public hearing will then be closed, and the board will enter into a deliberative session to discuss the merits of the appeal. For each application, the board will decide to approve with conditions, deny, or continue to a later meeting. You're welcome to watch the deliberation this evening, or you can call the zoning department at the town hall number in the morning to get the results. For an applicant's request to be approved, there must be an affirmative vote of at least 3 members. An applicant can request a continuance if there is not a full 5-member board to act on an application. Tonight we have a full board. If you are aggrieved by a decision made by the ZBA tonight, you have the right to appeal to the Superior Court. However, before appealing to the Superior Court, you must request a rehearing with this board to preserve your right to appeal. Rehearing requests must be filed within 30 days of the decision and state all reasons why the decision was unlawful or unreasonable. Failure to request a rehearing may forfeit your ability to appeal to Superior Court. I'm going to ask the board to introduce themselves now, starting on that end with Jack.
Jack Shepard, Building Inspector, Code Enforcement and Zoning.
Alan Yaten, member.
Leonard Stewart, Chairman.
Denise Langley, Vice Chair.
Judy Lane, member.
Jason Cody, member.
John Belleville, alternate.
Welcome. Well, let's get underway. What I would like to do this evening, because we have 2 fairly large and complex cases on the top of the agenda, if Paul and Ann, I believe it's Yeaman, are here, I'd like to deal with that case first because it appears it will probably be simpler and we don't want to keep you waiting for 3 hours as we have with some others in the past. So if Mr. Yeaman or your representatives are here, come on up and tell us about your application.
You're fine. You do you. Love it.
Yes, thank you very much. My name's Alden Boschman from Keelan Enterprises. I'm here with...
Let me give you one moment of pause because being chair, just back from a month off, I forgot one very important thing. Approval of the minutes from the April meeting. Anyone have any corrections or anything to add or subtract from the April minutes?
Too many to list.
There are quite a few.
I would postpone it until the next meeting. They can be
I
corrected.
think so.
All right, I will accede to Alan's suggestion. Sounds like a fine. We'll kick that can down the road, so to speak. All right, Mr. Boschman, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Alden Boschman from Keelan Enterprises. I'm a private land consultant. I'm here tonight with the owner of the property, Paul Yeaman.
Yeaman, thank you. I didn't slaughter it then.
It was perfect pronunciation.
Yeah, so you have, I think, everything as far as the packet goes. Did you want me to read through the request, or?
your request is part of the record already. If you just want to highlight what you think are the salient points that you'd like, but you don't
Yep.
you don't need to go through it
Okay.
word for word.
Yeah, so I,
Excuse me, one moment. I motion to regional impact.
Good job. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You got you covered, Len.
Moving right along.
yeah, I'm sorry,
Sorry about
I
that.
didn't see I didn't hear the motion.
There's no regional impact.
Oh, okay, awesome, yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, so you all have a little sketch there. Basically, this lot is 44 acres in size. It's existed for some period of time, going way back. It's an existing lot of record prior to zoning. And there is a deeded easement, or actually it's part of the lot itself, that fronts on Mountain Road itself, 30 feet, that they have a right to use. There's an existing Woods Road now that goes into the site and up to the proposed house location. You can see everything proposed. We put together a full septic design to show how the lot will be, the house will be constructed on the lot itself. They're doing a very nice house way up on top of the hill with some incredible views of Goffstown and the surroundings. Everything works from a septic design standpoint, and we meet all other setbacks required by the town. And so it was just a matter of the access, and so we put together a special exception. The proposed use is allowed by zoning. The use in the structure is consistent with others in the neighborhood. The proposed use is for one single-family house. The lot is 44 acres in size with extra usable space for appropriate facilities and operation. The proposed structure and improvements meet all town setbacks and buffers. There is not a threat to the public safety or welfare. Other questions?
How long is the access from Mountain Road to the edge of the property, and then how long in total is the driveway that you're proposing up to the house?
Yep, good question. It's 332 feet from Mountain Road to where the property widens out, and the driveway itself is a total of 2,300 feet long. And so we
Okay,
did.
and you've been through technical review and,
I've talked to Public Works about it, and they gave me back a list of a few issues that we're addressing, but we'll be able to address all those issues.
Fire department?
Yes, that's part of their review as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
When was this lot subdivided?
prior to zoning.
Okay. Thank you.
anything else from the board? I'll entertain a motion if anybody'd like to make one.
Public hearing?
Oh, I should say, if any member, you can step back, Mr. Boschman, if any members of the public are here, would like to be heard for or against this application, please make yourself known and come forward. Okay, come on, you need to come up to the table and identify yourself.
I am in a butter, I'm Lynn Poliquin, and Mr. Yeaman and I have been emailing the past couple, I don't know, has it been 2 years yet?
Yeah, a couple years, yeah.
He's been apprising me of all his plans because my lot goes right up to that driveway strip that connects to the back lot.
You are the one that would be on Mountain Road in front of the lot,
Yes,
essentially?
yes, I am. And I want to say that he has been very accommodating and reasonable and very helpful in terms of understanding what he's trying to do, how we will handle being next to each other. And he has assured me that, it's a single-family home. He's not planning to put a whole bunch of condos in there and tear the place up. And so I'm pretty confident that it will be a really great addition to the town, and that there would be no reason to try to prevent it from happening.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard on this application? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Alan, you have a question?
How wide is that right of way?
Yeah, the right-of-way at the road is 30 feet, and it narrows down to 16 feet. But in talking with Public Works, basically, they said that we can make things work as far as the fire department with the existing right-of-way, but regardless, we've actually talked with the, well, Paul has with the neighbor. We are in the process of working out some type of easement to get some additional land as well, so that there'll be plenty of room for fire trucks, if that's what you're thinking.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on the board? Okay, seeing nothing else from the public, I'm going to close the public hearing and we will deliberate.
I think it's pretty straightforward. This lot is grandfathered in.
Mhm.
Many lots out there that like this. It's a nice large lot, and I have no issues with this.
And one house in the middle of it doesn't seem like it poses any kind of a problem.
Even if they were below it, it's just for one house, so I have no issue.
The only problem is the topography.
But that's their
You
problem.
gotta deal with it.
That's their problem.
There are ways, as
can
you
do-
well know, Alan, to deal with it, so.
That's right.
All right, I'll take a motion if
Close the
anyone,
public hearing.
I did already.
Did you?
I did, you didn't hear me, did you?
No, I did not. Okay, I'll make a motion. Let me just make sure I'm at the right place here. I make a motion to grant a special exception for a single-family home on an existing non-conforming lot that has 30 feet of frontage, whereas 300 feet is required per section 4.3 of the Goffstown ordinance.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. You have your exception.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, going back to the regular order of the agenda, we'll start with, and I slaughter it every time, De Gratias Moano. Applicant owner is seeking a variance for an detached accessory dwelling unit that will be approximately 1,000 square feet in size, whereas per section 5.2.1 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance, the accessory dwelling unit shall not occupy more than 800 square feet of gross floor area. Previously, on July 11, 2023, both a special exception and variance was granted, to allow for the detached accessory dwelling unit. Property is located at 140 South Mass Street, map 31, lot 7, zoned residential 1, and this is continued from the April 2 meeting. Mr. Moano.
Hello. Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
how are
everyone. Thank you for providing me the time to present my case from last time. I do want to say that I feel that I was a little underprepared in the last meeting based on documentation that was provided and engagement that I had with the town throughout the entire process. So I just wanted to highlight a few things here. Originally, when I came in July of 2023, my grievance was I have a large family. I'm the oldest of 5. My brothers are all over the country, and I anticipate them coming to visit, and when they come to visit, they'll be staying there. My mother she's not getting younger and younger, so at some point, there might be an opportunity for her to actually reside there full-time. So during the process of building this ADU that you all approved, my contractor who's here today consulted with the town, meaning went up to the inspector and provided a adjusted plan. So during that process, I knew for sure that if there was any speculation that would have come up where the town would have said, hey, this is outside of the jurisdiction of what you got approved, what you got approve of, we recommend for you to go in front of the ZBA. I would have taken the right measure to do that right away. We provided the plan, and the adjusted plan, which included the cantilever on the side, which was 2 feet on both sides, and also closing out the cathedral. That plan was indeed approved, and I brought copies today that shows the stamp that was provided and also the plan that was approved with the cantilever. So I'm not sure if you have it in your package. If you don't, I can pass it around for you all to get a chance to see it. Yep. I'm not sure if you saw this one. So one last emphasis that I do want to make is that last time when I was here, there was conversation regarding that the construction starting without any approval. On the documentation you see here, we went in front of the town on December 12th, 2023. We didn't start building until January 17. We got the stamp approval that the adjustment that we made, we can do the work. And that's why I was very surprised with some of the question that came up that night, because we've invested a lot of money in that building, and I was a little bit caught off guard with some of the questions that was brought up, and I wasn't prepared to show the documentation that I had prior to the construction. So I just want to make sure that I clarify that and I provide any evidence that I have today. And then the last comment is, there were questions also regarding the permits. One of the questions that came up during the hearing was, if you told him to stop building, why did he continue building? And I believe it was, is it Alan?
Yes.
Al, you asked for to show what permits were done throughout the course of the construction to where it is now. In your document, you will see a copy of 5 different signatures that was provided throughout the course of the entire project. So I just want to make sure that if anyone needs a copy of it, I can also provide for you all to be able to see that.
Questions from the board?
So, based on this document?
Yep, that document. And also,
So-
I'm not sure if you saw the plan that shows the 2 cantilever on the side.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yep.
And I understand that.
That only has a date stamp on it, that doesn't see that you gave it to the building department, but it doesn't mean that it was made part of your permit.
Okay. So, looking at this, it looks like on March 5th is when he, Jack had to appeal to the ZBA because you were going larger. That's correct?
Yep,
Okay. And that's when you stopped construction?
indeed.
So prior to that, so a building inspector, it does not have to be on the job every week. There's certain milestones you have to reach, and then an inspection
Yep.
occurs. So a good example would be interior framing. So from the point of the last inspection prior to this, what was that time frame? I know it might be a little.
Yeah, the last inspection that was done in the place was on March 12th, 2024. It's written on one of the documentation.
Prior to him saying to stop construction. Was it prior to the second floor being constructed?
Everything was done by the time,
By March 20, by
all
March 5th?
the flooring, the walls, everything
on
in
March
there.
5th.
Yep,
But prior to that, there had to have been some type of building inspection. or
Yes, there
something.
were.
What was that date? That would have been the last time he would have been on the site prior to telling you to stop.
so if you look chronologically on the area where it shows where the inspections were done, there was an inspection on 3/2, 3/5, and also 3/12. Before starting the construction, the plan was submitted on 12/23 that outlined everything that we were going to do. And then throughout the course of the build, so the first one was just the framing, all first floor, second floor. That was done in mid-February. And then from that point on, when all the other milestones, the roughing for the plumbing, the roughing for the electrician. But at that point, when those inspections were being done, the entire structure was already built.
Including the second level.
Yes, indeed. The second level was already completed.
When
but
was that, when was the second level completed?
By the second week of February, because the project started on January 17.
Can I ask Jack a question? Jack, so on this information, we have this plan
Right,
dated 12/22,
correct.
and then this, which would show the second level.
Second level, yes. So the second level, bedroom 2, and when I showed up on site, and I did not show up in February on site for this, I showed up on 3/5 was my first inspection.
Okay, that's good, okay.
And because it's up to the builder and the owner to call me for inspections.
Correct.
And so, prior to that, when I did show up, I saw the second level. I assumed that that bedroom was not gonna be there, it was future reference.
Okay, so when you initialed this,
Right, I received it,
you did not expect this to be built, you thought this was a future
yes,
second bedroom,
correct,
hoping that the zoning changed?
correct.
Okay. So, I'm gonna tell you what I see as my problem. I don't have a problem with the cantilever. I could, I don't.
You should.
I know, but you know, I don't. Okay, I'm not gonna make an issue of that. I have an issue with that second bedroom. Zoning didn't change. That's the will of the voters of this town. It's not our decision, it's the choice of the voters of this town and what they want and what they don't want. I have an issue with that. That's all that's my opinion, based on the timeline. Building inspector's not required to go there unless there are inspections. Inspections are called in typically by a contractor. Your electrical, they call in their own inspections. You don't get inspections to the end of the project, you could be in a lot of trouble. And that's the responsibility of the owner and the contractor.
Can I just say one thing
Sure.
real quick? This is my third project in town.
Okay?
I took the same approach that I have with every single project that I've done. I go to the town and I say, this is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I have someone from the town comes out, walk out with me. And if at any point, whatever they provide to me is what I follow. Same thing I did at 87 when I needed to open up the foundation in order to add an egress. I took the same approach. And my contractor who's here today, before we even touched the grounds, we went up, to ask, and that's this plan that you see here, which articulated what we wanted to do. At any point through that process, if we were told that our only option was to come up to ZBA to ask for the additional square footage or stay with the 800 square feet that was approved, we would have just stayed with the 800 square feet and kept the cathedral open. I would have never tried to build and then come back here a few months later, because that's a big of a risk to invest all that money without having a confirmation from the town to build. So I just want to repeat that, because I've done other projects here. I purchased a home, commercial building / residential a couple of years ago. The previous owner had the approval to convert the second floor, but they never did the work. The first thing I did, even before purchasing the place, I came here and I said, what is the town asking in order for the two residential that was going to be converted in the second floor? So that's how I work, in every project that I've done up to this point, and that's why this plan was provided to the town a month and a half before we even started to build. At any time, if the town would have said, go back to ZBA or stay at 800, I would have honored that, and you would have seen me here, or we would have built it with the original plan that was submitted. I'm in this thousands and thousands of dollars, would have never done it without getting an approval if there was a problem right from the beginning.
I don't think you're trying to be sneaky. I want to be very clear. But your ADU was for 800 square feet. That's what the variance was for 800 square feet. So I don't understand how that could grow to 1,000 and not realize you have to come back.
We need 1,200.
1,200. Now, I understand, you went a little bigger on the floor, the bottom, and why you did it. I'm not gonna argue that. It really is that second floor.
Yep. And there were other things along the way. For instance, there was a lot of originally, some of the comments that we received was there's dead space. We went with that. Again, I took the same approach that I have up to this point, where I consulted with the town in every step, every single thing that I had a question on. I went to the town and asked. I followed the town's direction. I understand that at any point, if the town would have said to me, don't do it, go to ZBA, I would have been here. My contractor is here. I mean, I can bring him up to have a conversation based on what we did here. I have to repeat that over and over again.
So by these 2 pages, which are identical, that's what you're saying was the 2 bedrooms, giving you a full floor on the upstairs.
I just
Right.
So these were I passed the other copy early on. So
I see that.
so
But
that
you were pointing to this.
it was that page and this page.
Okay.
Those are the page that we
Okay.
came to the town and showed the plan
Okay.
in December, prior to starting anything. If at any point when we presented those plans, the town said, you cannot do that, stay within the jurisdiction of what was approved, I would have never, ever built that ADU the way that it's built today. I would have either abided by the 800 or came back to ask. The only reason we came back to ask, it's because when the neighbors started calling and the town said, stop, go up to ZBA to ask for an approval. And we stopped everything to come to ask for an approval. But if that was the case back in December when we presented these plans, which were altered from the original, I would have never built the place the way that it's built today.
Are there any dimensions on those plans?
The ones that's passed, yes, indeed.
Really? Overall dimensions? I don't see any. So how is the building inspector supposed to know how many square feet are there if there's no dimensions on the floor plan?
That's it?
Please identify yourself.
Yeah,
for
my
the
name is
record.
Rick Morgan. I was the general contractor helping Dale out on this project. A couple things, one of the reasons, well, there's two main reasons for the bump out. One was that is a big foundation, very well built. It was just really out of square, so 8 inches. So in order to make this house look like it's sitting on a square, something square, not whacked, we had to jump it out 2 feet. That's one. The second one was the overall appearance, which has always been a big concern about him, is that he didn't want, and I'm the one that brought it up, is like, this thing is gonna be 16 feet high by 30 feet. It's gonna look like a silo. So those were the two things, and I suggested bumping them out, and so that's why I went to see Jack and talk about things. I was also informed that if the second floor wasn't finished, it would be considered attic space. It's not a bedroom as it stands, it's not finished. We did not finish that front bedroom. And that's what we were going on. Also, it was brought up that that the town was going to adopt something that was going to be, instead of 800, it was going to be 1,000 square feet. But I guess that was voted on and that wasn't a sure thing. So that's another reason that during this whole building thing, that it really wasn't, because Dale said that during the initial zoning board, there was no objections. So the structure pretty much stayed the same height, just not as wide.
So even if the town had voted to make the change, you had just said that the discussion was 1,000 square feet, which I
Right.
think was what it was. You're still 200 over that. That's 20%
Well,
more.
that's if you consider, right, the front bedroom was not finished. Okay, we advised, don't finish it, it won't be considered living space.
Who said
It's-
that?
It's do not finish, period. Stop all work. When I walked up there, I said, don't finish. And you were measuring inside
Yeah,
into
I mean,
into leading the,
Right, I mean, Jack came over, I let him measure it up, he told me what to do. Don't finish the front bedroom, it'll be considered attic.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what my biggest problem is. Your building permit. Renovate an existing building and adding 246.5 square foot second floor space. That's your permit, that aligns into the variance. Anything after that, you are now against the building permit, unless you have another building
Right.
permit.
Well, okay, again, back, what is considered, is it unfinished walk-in attic considered
Square foot space would include a closet.
finished?
Gross
Doesn't
square
matter.
footage by
Square
definition.
footage.
Excuse me?
It's gross square footage. It's not interior
Finished,
dimensions.
finished or unfinished?
Doesn't matter.
Even then, your building permit says, doesn't even say finished or unfinished. It says 246.5 square foot second floor space. You added more than that in terms of space. I gotta say, the problem, I have the same kind of problem that Denise does, like 800 to 806 square feet because of the cantilever, okay, whatever. But this isn't like it's not like 32 square feet more.
Oh,
This
I
is
understand.
hundreds of square feet more.
And I can assure you, look, I've been building 35 years. This isn't a fence on someone too close or a shed. It's not a hot tub that was built, placed somewhere, or anything else small. This is a house. I mean, I obviously know that, let's not, I would never try to pull something in that scale with this guy's.
But you're right, sir. This is a house.
Right.
This is not an ADU. This is a house.
Well,
That's
Can
the
I
problem.
just say one thing?
Sure.
if when we went up with the plan that Rick brought up to Jack, which included all the additional stuff, if that plan, if we were told you cannot do this, we would have never built the way that it's built right now.
So my counter to you is, if I'm going to finish something in my space.
Nothing was built. This was
I
prior
get it,
to
but
anything was built.
Even if I'm gonna make a change to my residence, that's going to change, in essence, the function and the building itself, right? I don't need to be told by somebody in the zoning office or the building office or whatever, that if the rule is 800 and I come at you with 801, I'm in violation and I need to go to zoning. And you were here for the original discussion.
Indeed.
The major core of any ADU discussion with this group, in my experience, having also been in your shoes, is if you're going over the square footage, that's always a huge discussion point with us. And now you were given the ability to have your ADU above and beyond what the town allowed. Actually, I'm sorry, I take that back. Your thing was underneath originally, so that was not a
800,
problem. But the minute that you went over, now it's a new problem, and you have to go and follow the,
You have to fix it.
yeah.
And that's what I was saying. When we came, I took the same approach that I have with every single project I've done in town.
But you didn't come here.
Okay. I will
If-
say,
So,
guys,
can I just say something real quick, Rick? When I went to present this, I spoke to the lady up front, they directed us to Jack. If at any point Jack would have said, again, if Jack would have said, go to the ZBA or build it the way it is, I would have never built this. And that's why we presented the plan a month before we started building. When we got the green light, I thought we were fulfilling the request that we asked. At any time, if anyone would have red flagged it and said, you can't do it, just like the same way I've done with every single project here, you would have seen me up here before we even started the build, just like I've done with all the other projects that I've done. I would have came up here, or I would have just built it within the structure that it was approved by. There were a lot of mix information that was provided through us throughout the entire process. And by the time we were told that we needed to come up in front of you, we stopped everything in that room and did what the town told us to do. So I don't know which other way for me to present this. And that's why the plan that you see that was presented to the town on 12/22, if there were any hesitation, if there were anything where someone would have said, stop what you're doing, they wouldn't even say stop because we didn't start building yet. We came here a month before we started building. I just want to emphasize that.
and I'll
We were
say,
given the green light. If they would have told us, go back to ZBA, you would have seen me here in January.
So you applied a month after we gave you the variance. Is that correct?
No, I got
Is that what you said?
I got the
Sorry.
variance in July of
Yeah.
2023.
Yes.
When it took a while, because obviously building, construction
Okay,
is,
I
it's
thought
a
you
long
just said a
process.
month. Okay.
What I'm saying is, by the time Rick was ready, which was in November, we were talking about the plan. And he saw the dimension from what was approved, and he said, hey, we might need to go to the town to see if we can change the dimension based on how it's going to look. And I told Rick, please put together your drawing and your measurements so we can submit it. Rick put together these drawings that you're seeing. This was in December. So he brought the drawing and the layout to the town. Jack reviewed the drawing and the layout, and he stamped on it saying that, yes, we can do this. And then a month later, That's the stamp that you're seeing on the document, which
That's
says.
a receipt stamp.
Yeah.
That's the date it was submitted. That doesn't mean it's approved.
So let me just be clear. When we brought it in front of the town on that day, I understand Alan is saying it was just, that's just a receipt. If we show the plan to the ladies, we show the plan to Jack. If anyone from the town, including Jack, would have said, you have to go back to ZBA because you're adding additional square footage, you would have seen an application and I would have been here in January. But what we were told was, we can do this, that there's dead spots inside, if a closet under the stairs, and
Okay, you'd have to show me proof that somebody said that to you
Yeah.
from the town of Goffstown, and I would need proof. Because I just can't imagine anybody in a building department would say that. So, you know, you gotta be careful there.
I'm
Okay.
being
Okay.
honest.
That
There's-
And I will
conversation-
tell you,
I'm
I
being honest here,
understand.
there's no
and
reason for me to lie.
Well, that is, anybody in construction understands what square footage is. Okay? My issue is you came here, you presented a cathedral ceiling. That is what your variance is for, period. That is what we allowed on this board. Then, you went for a building permit, it says the same thing. So I don't understand why you'd even draw up a different plan and bring it to the town. Now, I understand you might have been hoping that the zoning changed. I understand that. But to go ahead and build it before it changed is a problem.
I was not hoping for the variance or the
Then
zoning to
explain
change.
to me why you built something different than you showed us, and we were very clear, that is what we approved.
Because
Because that is the town law.
we provided the plan based on the dimension to the town, directly to Jack, and said, Jack, after, now that the building, the previous structure that was there that was down, after looking at everything, here's what we're proposing. Can we do this?
That was for the cantilever.
That was for the cantilever
Okay.
and the second floor.
Yeah.
And you
Can I
can,
add something?
can I just give me 1 second? In the document that I passed earlier, just give me one, can I just see it real quick? The one, yep, so the day that we went up, this layout, which is showing second floor and first floor, and this print here, which is showing the cantilever and the dimension for both floors, that was provided and shown to Jack.
There's no dimensions on the floor plan so that no one can determine the square footage. You know better. So don't even go there.
Well, it didn't, the foundation didn't get any bigger, it just went wider. It's the same length, okay? When Jack first came to me.
Wait a second.
Okay.
It did get bigger.
Yeah,
I mean, okay,
no,
I mean, let's not.
wider. I mean, it didn't
Okay,
get longer,
okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so it just got 2 feet wider on either
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
Right, and the reason being, one was aesthetics for sure.
But none of us,
It
well,
wasn't out
I
of
won't say
square
none
because
of
I
us.
was on site and I checked it.
The house is totally square now. But if you measure from one overhang to the foundation, it's 20 some odd inches this way. You go down the other end, it's 17. So I don't know if you check that, I would doubt it. The building is absolutely square from the foundation up.
I don't doubt that.
I'd be happy to, it's right on, okay. The first, I'll say this, the first point that we ever realized that there was a problem was when I think one of the neighbors called and Jack showed up and said, hey, they say this is bigger than it's supposed to be. I said, I don't believe so, Jack. And at that point, it was just the frame, okay? Certainly could have knocked out the floor. I wouldn't have wanted to do it, but certainly could have knocked out
What was this date?
the frame.
What was the date of that when he showed up?
Probably whenever, was it February?
Middle of February.
Okay, okay. So, but that's when the issue, I said, well, what's considered square feet? What if we just call that an attic? Okay? I was told, as long as you don't finish it, it's not considered square feet. Now, if you wanna ask Jack if he told me that,
I went there on 3/5 and I asked to stop work, okay? And because the square footage was off. And I went upstairs and I said, in June, March rather, there was gonna be a vote by the town. And at that point, I
Right.
said, it all depends what the town, and if the town votes it down, you have to bring it back to 800 square feet, and just keep it at that. You cannot go beyond 800 square feet at that point on.
well, you did tell me that, you did tell me that it was changing. You didn't say there was gonna be a vote.
Well, changing, okay, it went to vote.
Okay, when someone says it's changing to 1,000 square feet, and don't worry about it, and I
never
said
said
to
don't
Jack,
worry.
I said, it's kind of a big deal, Jack, and he said, don't worry about it, just go to the ZBA again.
And you've been building for 35 years, and you didn't figure that one out?
What's that?
Let's not get into
Yes,
who said what to
Okay.
whom, when. We're dealing here with what I see here. Mistakes were made, very large and expensive mistakes, and now the problem that this board is faced with tonight is, what are we gonna do about it? And, you know, I think that boils down to it. So we've gotta, you know, again, I'm open to ideas, but we're dealing here with a situation where, again, large and expensive mistakes were made.
I mean,
How do
Mr.
we fix this? How do we come to a fair resolution?
Mr. Wano, said one of the issues was that the neighbor, was concerned about the view down on the deck, which wasn't that would be the attic space anyways up till then, but he tried to rectify it. I think he put in some very large trees along the property line, I know.
We just put
It's-
5,
it's a-
15
well,
feet
yeah.
trees.
I know it's not-
Again, the views aren't really the issue here.
Okay.
The square footage is the issue. So,
So how would you recommend that you correct it?
Well, based on the information I received, we proceeded. I would have not had the electricians wire it if there was any chance that it would not be voted through. I wouldn't have them do anything. We could have taken down that area at the frame.
But
but
that's
you
not the answer to the question.
proceeded on the
The question is, what would you do to correct it?
what can be done to correct it at this point.
Well, we could certainly wall up that front room.
I don't believe they're gonna let you do that without access.
But I believe, and Alan can correct me if I'm right, we're talking gross, it's not whether it's storage space or whatever, it's gross square footage, correct?
Yep.
So a walk-up attic, a walk-up attic in someone's house is considered square foot living space. If they have a stairwell to the third floor, is it considered unfinished? Because when I get my tax bill, I have different classifications for basement, attic, unfinished space, above a garage.
When it's an ADU unit, it's considered by the square footage, because it's such a small space. We're talking sometimes 600, 800 square feet. So if somebody adds a closet that's 100 square feet, we know what they're gonna do with that. And that's not the intent of an ADU unit.
Sure.
I was hoping I was gonna be done talking, but I'm not, I'm sorry.
Remove the plywood.
You stated, if you had known, it would have been voted for. You knew it was going to the election, so you knew there was a chance.
No.
You just stated, if...
Jack told, no, he did not tell me it was gonna be voted upon. He said, don't worry about it in March.
Did you look at
It's-
the rules? Like, did you look?
No, I did not.
Okay, so
If
that,
When Jack tell me something, I believe it.
I'm gonna draw the line there.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is hearsay, and without proof, I have no idea. So at the end of the day, what it's gonna come down to is, I need to see a approval. I don't.
Right.
What I see is a stamp that says it was received, which is typical of that office.
Well, it does say send to ZBA board, so I don't know if it ever made it or not.
That's not the one I'm looking at, I'm looking at that other one that he handed out. There's no approval on there.
No.
It says, it's a received stamp.
Yeah, received and sent to ZBA. I can't say if it
That's
ever
the
made it.
cantilever, I don't care about that. I'm going to be frank, I don't care, I've already said that. My issue is that second floor, increase that place substantially. And, like I said, without something written that says approved, what you're saying is I can't make a judgment on that.
From
I'm sorry to interrupt, Denise.
No, that's fine.
end of
Please,
February.
please keep talking.
Until March, once I realized that there was an issue, I was literally here pretty much every day to try to figure out what's going on. Like calling Jack, sending emails, coming out here, and when it was clear when they said you need to go up to ZBA, I said we're gonna submit the application and we're gonna come up here. But prior to that, there were a lot of misleading information that came directly from Jack, and I've had a great relationship with the town, being here for the last 3.5 years. I would never invest thousands of dollars outside the jurisdiction of something that's a chance. And
And we had inspections after the point that he's told, supposedly told us to stop. The first time we were told to stop was by the ZBA. And I came the next day and I started clearing my stuff out. And I pretty much haven't been back there until Jack's boss said the ZBA doesn't have authority over the building department. And today was I think the first day
today was the first day.
I went back.
We have a date here of 3/5.
Nope.
1,175 square feet, not 800 square feet, appeal for ZBA. Okay. I want you to know that I think you've done a good job on fixing up the places that you have purchased in this town. I think that's great. I think as a builder, you have the responsibility to follow a building permit. You know that building permit, what it was for.
And you
I didn't-
And it's unfortunate, he's gonna pay the price.
No, hold on, excuse me. I didn't pull the building permit. Dale pulled the building permit. I said, it's because he wanted to go ahead with it. I said, let me see what the let's see how big this thing is. It's certain width, and that's when I said, it's gonna look very funny, a 16-foot wide and he said, well, let's see what we can do about it, and that's when I went in to see Jack. I sat down, very open. I'm not trying to do anything that wasn't approved. I don't want
But
to
you
get
did
it.
do
you
something
did.
that's not approved.
But you did.
As far as I know, when I left Jack's office, I had the green light, okay? And it says on there, send to ZBA, like I say, maybe it didn't make it out of the folder. I don't know.
And I do want to be, I think we have to be transparent here. Because Jack hasn't said much during this time. And I've had multiple conversations with Jack throughout the entire project. I'm going to go back to December. When these plans were provided to Jack, if we were told, before we even built, before Rick even bought the material, if we were told, stay at 800 square feet, stay at what was approved, or go to ZBA, I would have submitted an application just like I have with every single project that I've done to come in front of you all. There was no
hiding, that's my ignorant to go to the building inspector that I've gone to for multiple projects in this town to ask for direction anytime there's anything that needs to exchange or altered in order to find the guidance from the town. I've trusted that for the last 3 years that I've been here with multiple projects that I've done where I've had to put thousands of money in order to abide by the rules and policy here.
Right.
I took the same approach. If the day that Rick brought these plans, which were different than what was approved, if there was any inclination from the town that said, please go back to ZBA for a request of an expansion, or stay with what was approved, I would have 100% built that ADU exactly the way that it was approved in July. Without a doubt. And that's my word. You can put 3 projects here. I just did a project in the fall where I had to spend $5,000 just for a company to cut the foundation for an egress. I've spent thousands of dollars in the new way that it's been. And I like being a Goffstown. I would love to continue to invest in Goffstown. But this has given me a bad taste throughout my experience. I've learned through this process, when in doubt, come back. There's been times where I've hunted Derek down for something, just to affirm. Even within the last month since I was up here, I've met with Derek, I've met with Joanne, I've done, the first thing I did the next day after the meeting, I went to the town to ask for all the records, because I didn't feel prepared when I was here initially. So that's my word. You can take it for wherever you want. I have to be honest with you all. If I pulled my phone to show records of the times that I've called Jack from February to March, I mean, so that's my presentation to you. That's my case to you. I'm kind of lost for words in terms of how this whole entire thing has transpired. From a character standpoint, I've known Rick since I was 11 years old. I used to do an outreach program where they did inner city performing art program, and Rick was one of the mentors. And I feel so fortunate that 15, 16, 17 years later, he's been able to help me in different projects that I've done. And Rick has been building houses since he was 19 years old. He builds big houses. I thought we did our due diligence by coming to the town to ask. There was I wasn't crossing my fingers. There's no way you can extend an ADU and cross your finger and hope that you're gonna be able to sneak it in. So that's my last statement to you all. I will abide by whatever that you all think it's just and right.
So it's a can I speak, please?
Judy?
So it's a conflict of information which is going on here, and with some of the, how do you, Dale?
It's Deo.
Dale, I got this. So Dale, when you, it says the building inspector approved and signed off on a plan extending the dimensions to 20 by 30 for the ADU, with exterior dimensions, corner to corner at 600, both floors totaling 1,200. So Deo is saying that that's how this went, correct?
I mean,
Let's have it.
seems to me we've had miscommunication.
Yeah. So on Deo's
Throughout this
paperwork,
process.
we're seeing how he says it's the town of Goffstown that said, let it fly and go ahead. So basically, it's almost like a house.
Well, this is.
1,200, yeah.
I don't want to interrupt, but I mean, from our standpoint, and this is one of the things Jason mentioned or if we were dealing with an ADU and maybe it's like 810 or 820 square.
Right.
That's a small error. When we get to something that is twice the size, we're dealing with a problem for the town of setting an unwelcome precedent. Because essentially, if you get 1,200 square feet, what you have created is not an accessory dwelling
Dwelling, right.
unit. You've created a full second dwelling unit on property that is not zoned for it.
Does it still fall
I believe
on?
R1, you're limited to one dwelling unit per acre, and you're talking about basically 1,200 square feet. You've blown an ADU up into a full dwelling unit, and that's a problem, and that's
So-
why I'm puzzling it. You know, what kind of a fair resolution can we make in a situation like this?
So it should be converted to the building of a home?
You can't. It's not,
No,
a second home on the same lot is not allowed by
It's not allowed.
zoning.
so we have to,
Would you know if this ever did make it to the ZBA, or did you think it just stayed in the file?
I
Well,
didn't
that
see
never
it.
came to the ZBA.
I never saw that. I don't even know what that is.
On this,
Yep.
The
I don't
thing,
have that.
you have that?
Nope, I don't think I do. I've been searching for it.
That's right here.
Where is it?
It's right
This-
here.
that's what
That's what
he
he's showing up.
No, look closely.
That's what he's holding
Oh,
up.
but it just looks different
It's
on
little,
this.
he's got it on
Oh,
two
you've
pages.
blown it up. I
Oh,
see. So it's blown up to this?
No. So that was the plans.
Oh, yes, this is
Send
it.
to ZBA.
312, yep, everything matches. Okay,
Yeah.
just didn't look like
I just
mine.
didn't know, like,
Yep.
somebody put that note, and I'm assuming the same time this was,
Yeah,
you know.
okay, great.
Maybe it didn't make it.
Yes, thank you.
um,
That was it, that's tricky.
But if you allow this to continue, you have a 3-bedroom house.
How is it a 3-bedroom house? I'm curious.
We allow you to keep that floor, you got a 3rd bedroom.
Nope, it's only
Oh, two.
2-bedroom. 2-bedroom upstairs and a living room on the
Yeah.
first floor.
That wasn't the original plan.
Make a motion.
But it's not, it wouldn't be 3-bedroom though, it's only 2-bedroom. The original plan had 1 bedroom upstairs and 2 bathrooms.
And 1 bedroom downstairs,
Nope,
no?
just 1 living room downstairs and 1 bedroom upstairs. That's what the original plan had, and a cathedral ceiling.
Please.
No sound.
I would also say, getting back to the point where we were told to stop, it was at the framing inspection, not that we were told to stop, that the issue came up with, it's bigger. And at that point, I said, Jack, it's not. I'm sure we have the plans and whatnot. At that point, it would have been less expensive to just roll back the framing. We're only
For
talking,
the cathedral area.
we're
where
talking
that covered, yes.
floor joists and plywood. Okay, and after that, we were given, hey, it's not gonna be a problem, so we continued. And you can see there's been inspections, electrical inspections, installation inspections, even in those areas that were in, in contention.
But you still haven't told this board how you're gonna correct it.
Well, I would argue that,
No, how are you gonna correct it?
well, I would say that
Well,
maybe
the
partially
variance, the
is.
variance that I came up with, that I'm asking for, it's not about correction. The variance that I'm coming up with is asking for that area. So if you choose not to approve that variance, then we're gonna have to, the next thing would be figuring out what the rectification is for that space.
Okay. As long as you understand that.
Only one accessory dwelling unit per yard.
Yes.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed either. Anything from
Creative
members
thinking.
of the board before I open it to the public?
Could you
Go-
just
go
make
ahead.
it through?
Why don't you step back, gentlemen? Are there any members of the audience here who wish to speak on this application for or against? Please come up and identify yourself.
Michael Sawyer, I'm from Butter. My house is the one that looks from his backyard into the property. Back in July when we were here, the existing pool house was up, and he said that he wanted to loft the second floor. He did not have plans or anything at that time. We were lenient with everybody saying, yeah, okay, we'll let that happen. The next thing you know, the structure comes down and they start erecting a house. So I don't know how taking a property, a building that was there down, and supposedly he was out of town at the time, his contractor took it down, and now you have a house. So where do you go from a lofted area to now a full-size house? That's what I want to know. And we're talking July. He started back in, he said November. And the next meeting was April. I think when they found that they took the house down, they should have stopped it right then and there and said, "This, we gotta change the plans, we gotta have another meeting. This is what we're gonna do, wanna do." So, I just don't see how you're going from a pool house with a lofted area to a single-family residence. So.
Thank you, Mr. Sawyer.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean Collins. I live at 148 South Mass Street, because my wife lets me.
For now.
Where is that in relation to the property? Toward the village or?
It's
toward
one
the-
house. There's Dio's place, then there's our place. It's right on Park Lane and that White House.
Understood.
Yeah. A couple of things, like I said, I want Dio to have what he wants, per se. But 1,200 square feet is not what we agreed to. We agreed to 800. Then he was gonna come back in and give another 200 to get to 1,000. That's what the last meeting was about. And like I stated before, and Mike used my line, had that came down, and we called pretty regularly, because the whole house came down. Because it was supposed to be, it was a pool house. It was a single-story pool house. It had a little crawl space up top, but that's all it was. And the old pictures, if you still have them, you can see it. It was one floor. And it's skinny, I do understand that. I know it to the basement. I'm the one that cleaned out all the Karanikas' stuff. So I know every place of that area. When we cleared all that out, there was a room, there was one room, there was a second room, and then there was, of course, the basement that you'd go from the outside to get down to the basement. That's what was there. And then when this thing came up, it's two floors. And it was cute how it was going up, because you could kind of see that they weren't, towards Mike's property, they weren't quite doing anything there. Framing was all up, the floor was there. But the day after the meeting here in April, the day after, people were packing things up in their trucks and leaving. So we thought everything was stopped. And of course, a few weeks ago, Eversource came in and put the power in. And then the next thing you know, flooring was being delivered. And then the walls are going up, sheetrock's up. And it just kept going and going. I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, this would have stopped when it was tore down. None of this would be going on. And even as you guys said that you guys asked them to stop, they didn't stop, because they know that let's see what we can do. And they're trying to see what they're doing. And this is how I feel. And what you're about to do here is going to set a precedent. And as soon as you allow this, everybody's going to be throwing up places. Matter of fact, I got a beautiful barn I can change into a house. Don't want to. My wife's not going to let me. But
You might be living in it. Sorry, I had to say it.
I was gonna say.
all right. Well, I can get the contract to make me a doghouse. But anyhow, this is the precedent we're in. We all welcome open arms. I don't have a problem with Dio, even with this going on. I just don't think his word is 100% anymore because he asked for 800. He came in to get 1,000. It got tabled because everybody realized that's a house. Is he gonna subdivide the property? He could eventually, or try. You know, what's gonna happen here? Do I want his mother to live there? Absolutely, I think it'd be awesome. One of his brothers? Absolutely. Other people I don't know of? I'd be a little leery. And I know this is not part of it, but Jack and Cindy had the place next to him that he also bought. And they came to the variance, and we had beautiful COVID coming through, and we had to do everything by phone. And I did not approve of Jack and Cindy changing those into apartments. I was the one that wasn't. As a matter of fact, got a couple of lawyers involved to see what we could do about it. Next thing I know, he buys it. He's got apartments in there. How did that continue to go through? You guys didn't even notify us that he was going to continue this. We didn't get notification of that either. So there's 2 strikes for me. Like I said, I like Dio personally. I hope he gets what he needs, what he wants, but I'm also a man of your word. When you said you wanted something, we approved it, that's what you do. You go beyond it, or underneath it would have been okay, but he went beyond it. You didn't keep your word. So now it takes a long time for that trust to ever get back. And that's the way I feel about it. You're about to set a precedence if you allow this to go through. I know the gentleman next to him is ready to build a house in his backyard to handle his handicapped child and his mother-in-law. And he's just waiting. He came here last time just because he was thinking you guys were going to let him do it so he can get started on his. So you're about to set a precedent. I hope you don't do it. I hope it goes back to the 800 where it should have been. And if he wants that 1,000, then let's come back in here and talk about that other 200 to go to 1,000. But definitely not 1,200. Not at all. Thank you.
Can I just make a general statement? Regardless to what we do, we don't set precedent because every case is an individual case. So I just want to be clear on that, regardless to how we decide this evening.
Anyone else in the audience who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, Mr. Buono, any reply you'd like to make to anything that's been said before we close the public hearing?
Yeah, just 2 things. I feel like this happened last time when I was here. When I came here in July, in the application, it was 2 stories. The plan was submitted prior to, so there's the whole narrative around he came here to add a loft. If you look at the original plan that was submitted in July, it had 2 floors, windows on every side. So I just want to clear that because I feel like last time when I was here, that ended up being the narrative that you all stayed on for a while, and I was like, that was already approved. So I just want to make sure.
It had a half second floor.
Yeah.
A lot, yeah, with
Okay.
cathedral ceiling, but it was
Yes,
a
so-
full second floor.
yes.
It wasn't a loft that
It was
was
gonna be a loft.
that I came
Well,
here to ask for. It was a
But there
full
was a
second
cathedral
floor.
ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that
we're all on the same
I'm
page.
addressing that. And then the other thing regarding the other property that's irrelevant to this, that approval for
Yeah.
those 2 apartment was done way before I even purchased the building. I actually fulfilled what the requirement the town was asking in terms of egress and all that. So that has nothing to do with this case. So I just want to make sure that I'm presenting my case based on what's in front of this case today. And again, I just want to say my last thing. If we were told to not build based on the dimension that Rick brought forward to Jack in December of 2023 with the plan, I would never be here today. I would have built it just like the way that it was approved, or you would have seen me here in January
of 2023 during the ZBA meeting asking for it. And whatever you would have said, if you would have said, nope, it's 1,200 or it's 1,000 or whatever the number was, I would have just gone and done it with what was approved before. There was no indication from Jack at any point until March, when we were asked to come, until February, end of February, when it was then recommended for us to submit an application for ZBA. And that's when I came here. By that point, the framing was up, the drywall was up. When we stopped, everything was already done. And the other thing regarding the power that my neighbor just said, we've been waiting for Eversource for over almost a year because they're so backlogged. That actually prolonged the entire project because Eversource needed to come in and run a brand new power to that ADU. I had to put a new sewer line. I mean, there's so much work that was done. So that has nothing to do with it being approved. And the only reason why we continued work is because we came back to the town, because there were so many things that were put on hold. My contractors left. I don't even know how long it's going to take to get some of them back. So again, the narrative that my neighbors tend to bring up in the last meeting and even today, that there's something sneaky and fishy. You can't do anything sneaky and fishy when the house is on the main road where everybody's driving on. There's nothing to hide. So, and then the other thing is, I'm not asking for trust from my neighbors. I'm not trying to do that. I'm coming to the town, that's why I'm here today. So in your consideration regarding this approval, please consider the entire picture. Please consider my track record of due diligence that I've done with other projects that I've done since I've been here in town. And please consider that. That's the only thing that I would ask. And whatever decision that you decide, I'm going to respect it based on the rules and the responsibility you have as ZBA board members. But I just do want to emphasize that I've spent a lot of money to get to this point, and I've learned from this process. And I hope moving forward that I'm always going to do my due diligence to ensure that if it's something that I have to come back to you all, probably get all of your phone numbers after this meeting. So instead of calling Jack, I like Jack, but I might have to call you all if I have any other projects in the future here. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to say, unless you've got something new to add to it, I'm not going to recognize Mr. Milano already had an opportunity to respond. If it's something new,
Well, it's just the fact that in the beginning, it was one floor. Got to remember that, it was one floor. He asked for the variance to come up. Okay, we understand that part. It wasn't a second floor, so hopefully none of you realize that this had 2 floors. It didn't.
understood. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, with that, if there are no others in the audience who want to be, we have another member of the audience who'd like to be heard.
Hi, my name's Debbie Sawyer. I live at 8 Park Lane. So, I'm a nurse by trade. If you don't document something, it didn't happen. So when all of this was going on with the building permits and him making lots of phone calls, is there anything put in writing that told him to stop working?
Yes.
So you do have it in writing, so
Yes.
he understood that it was supposed to stop working.
I went onto the site and stopped work, and I also wrote it down on my inspection.
I was just curious on that. And that's all, thank you.
Jack, who did you give the stop work order to?
I gave it to his builder.
Okay,
I said, stop work.
thank you. And that was in March.
Can I say something regarding that, please? Because I have to provide feedback.
Come on up again, sir.
Stop work
and go for a variance didn't come until the end of February. Okay? At that point, the entire structure is up. Everything, all the floor is done, the drywall is done. We were told to not do work in the room that was added on the second floor. Because if you look at all the permits that were approved, those permits were done after, in March. March 5th, March 12th. That's way after we were told to stop at the end of February. So, and I know this was the narrative last time, because it felt like we were told to stop, but we continue to build. That's not what occurred, and I'm not sure if my neighbors have had a chance to look at this document that shows all the permits that Jack approved throughout the course of March.
It was a picture of January 31st. In frame.
Please no colloquy between the.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, because this was carried on last time, so I just want to make sure that I'm articulating this well, so everyone knows that the only area where we were told to stop until the ZBA was that additional room on the second floor, which was at the end of February, because I needed to apply for the ZBA in order to make it for the April meeting, it's a month apart. And then after that, all the other permits that was needed, electrical, plumbing, all of that was done in March. And, and that was done on site, so Jack needed to come into the building to look at everything and where everything was. At that point, the drywalls were up, the electrical roughing were up, all of that work was already up in March. So I just want to be clear with that, because that's a very clear distinction that I have to make here. And you have copies of all of those permits that were done in March, so.
Okay. If I see nothing further, I am going to close the public hearing at this point, and the board will deliberate.
Jack, I'd like to ask a question. I know I've already asked you, but I want to make it really clear.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the first time you went on site,
Right.
when was that?
The beginning of March is when I first went on site. I walked in, I said, I looked up, I saw the second level filled in, I said, stop work.
Okay.
And after that, then what I did was I wrote it down.
Yeah.
It was 800 square feet over, and it wasn't approved by ZBA. That's my notes on this. And I have pictures of the dates, I have them, and I just gave it to IT to download everything.
Okay. So then, you went back, well, that day you inspected a couple
I
of things.
inspected the rough electrical on the main floor.
And that's because the work was done.
Correct.
At that point on the 5th.
Correct. And it's not because they called me, because they never called me for inspections, and they're supposed to.
Did they get the inspections they did require?
I inspected the rough while I was there, and I inspected the rough plumbing while I was there. But they never called me for it. I said, is it done? He said, yes.
At what point did anybody get notified that they were over the 800? Or
Right
did
there on the
they
spot.
already know?
They already,
Right.
they already knew.
They already
They
knew
already
at
knew.
that point. The builder should have known at that point.
Of course he did,
They were over.
and
You found it.
I
Yeah.
found it, and I said, stop work, until, come down and
Yeah.
I filed for the ZBA, and that's when he went to see Patty, and we told him he had to file for a variance.
So the question is that they gave you a plan at some point in December, I believe? That
Yes.
showed 2 bedrooms upstairs.
Yes, it showed
So
2
I
bedrooms.
know- So if you give me your thought process on,
My thought process was I assumed that was for future, not for right there, right now, and when he was doing it. And I assumed he was staying with the same footprint, same plans he did, only he cantilevered it on the back end.
which matched the permit.
Right,
So I can understand that.
Yeah.
If it didn't match the permit, I'd be like, but it matches the permit, and I understand where that could have been a thought process.
right. And what I didn't understand at the time is, I did some calcs and I said, why didn't you go 18 feet, not 20? Because that would have covered it perfectly too. You know, but that was my thought process when I was writing things down, so, my notes.
Jason, I see a question floating around in there.
No, I just, to address what one of the neighbors said, you know, I had to write this down because I don't remember much anymore, but, you know, I could make the leap of taking the building down. That wasn't my understanding when the original thing came, and I said that at the last meeting. I thought they were gonna fix the structure that was there. I didn't understand that they were going to be taking it down and raising the building. That, you know, it's not my understanding, but okay, I guess I could understand that as long as they were staying within the plans that they were going to be rebuilding. And then if I had a change, right, and again, I've done this, right? If I'm gonna go outside of what I got approved for, it's my responsibility to make to meet those codes and ordinances. At the end of the day, the buck stops with me, who's paying the contractor and everything else. I'm gonna assume that my contractor is doing what he's supposed to, assuming that it looks the way it does, but at the end of the day, if I'm bigger than what I was approved for, I've gotta meet those requirements. That didn't happen. I feel that they took a risk, and sometimes when you take a risk, you get caught. And I think that happened here. I feel bad for him, but, you know, the contractor had said that he left because he was told to stop. But then apparently they came back. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking there, so.
What?
Go ahead.
Just my impression is that work proceeded on the basis of some very questionable assumptions as to whether that 1,000 square feet was going to get approved at the March election or not. And if it was a crapshoot, it probably came up snake eyes in this case. You know, again, the real problem that I see is the fact if it were a little bit over is one thing. If you're talking about, well, let's see, 1,200 over 800, you know, you're talking 50–60% over what the ordinance allows. That, again, you're dealing with a separate dwelling unit on the same property, which is not allowed by zoning. So, you know, I'm still looking for, again, how do we direct, or maybe we don't direct, maybe we just say there's going to be no exception and it's going to be up to the owner to figure out a way with the contractor to rectify it.
Well, and I would say with that one, we've always said that, or I've always heard that it's not our place to make recommendations to the applicants on what to do.
That's correct.
So I would just say, I'm not saying anything else.
Alan, you have a burning question.
Two things. When he was approved for variance, they submitted plans. When they applied for a building permit, were the plans different at that time? But neither one of them have any dimensions on them that you could determine the actual square footage they were gonna build. Now, you can make assumptions. I would. And if I made assumptions, I already know that I was in the wrong with the square footage I was building, beyond the parameters of my variance. I'd like to have sympathy, but I don't. At all. There's 3 members of this board who are in the building business. Come on.
And those of us who weren't have experience with ADUs.
Oh,
in the
yeah. I
past.
mean, so it's not like we're not aware of what goes on, okay? I believe, in all honesty, I'm not gonna accuse anybody of anything, but I don't understand how anybody could make that mistake on the square footage. Absolutely unheard of. I can't even comprehend that. That's the problem. And the worst thing is, neither the contractor nor the owner are willing to own up to the fact that they did it. I find fault, I'll blame contractor. You should know better. In all honesty. I don't know anybody that makes that kind of mistake. I'm sorry, I've been in business 50 years, doing this for 50 years. It just doesn't happen. Unless you don't care. And you're gonna do what you want. And that puts a sour taste in my throat.
So I will speak now. Whenever this comes to us, that somebody has already done something, I always do try to really, I get having a sour taste in your mouth, Alan, I understand that, but I put that aside and I think to myself, what would I have done if they came here for a variance for this? Would I have approved it?
I wouldn't
And
have.
in this case, it's a no. There are times that people come here, I don't like to say they ask for forgiveness, I say they make a mistake. And when they come here, I really do look at it that way. I don't want to punish somebody. I want to say, would I have approved that? And I would not have, because the town people have definitely spoken loud and clear, they don't want this. And we have rules to follow, and there's not a hardship to go larger. I think the issue is, what do we do? What are we going to allow to happen in there? Are we going to, there's two avenues. If we decide that we're not going to allow this extra square footage. One is, they remove that part of the, and turn it into a cathedral ceiling, as they showed us. I honestly don't know if the second one can be legal. Because you have to have access, I am going to assume. You can't have this big empty room with no access. Unless you're gonna have fire suppressor, something that's gonna be in it. That's an awful large space with no access at all. So that's my question on where, if we
You can't get a
decide this,
CO with a closed room.
then that's not an option. And having an access door is allowing a storage area.
It's allowing
And I
any
don't want to
use-
start setting that.
It allows
So-
any use that they can put in it.
So the variance request was for the detached accessory dwelling unit will be approximately 1,000 square feet. But we've determined it's 1,200, correct? If I'm looking at the right sheet,
Yeah.
yep, May 7th, 2000, so it's 1,200 square feet. So just wanted to get that straightened out. And then it said, it just says here to convert an existing detached accessory building into an accessory dwelling unit. To convert an existing detached unit, convert it.
And they showed us
It
a
did,
plan.
and it went,
And they
yeah,
showed us a plan.
and it went, and it got raised. Right,
I don't have an issue with
But
that
you
because
said-
I don't think you could put, they could
Yeah.
not build what they
Just-
proposed to build on top of it.
yeah, it's just what
That building.
what Jason was bringing up.
And
Say again?
They would not have been able to put a second floor in the building that was there. And they did present
They did
a
present it.
plan with a second floor, you know,
Yes,
for
yeah.
one bedroom,
Yeah,
Yes.
for a partial.
just making
Yeah.
reference.
So I don't have an issue that they raised the building.
I'm ready to make a motion when we're done with discussion.
Go ahead, John.
all right,
I just, they filled in the open to above, and they took the open above out of the equation. Now, what's the record, how do you fix that? You go back to open to above, and rip out some floor joists, does that,
It would be up to Jack to approve it.
yeah.
They'd have to submit an
I
amended
think-
permit.
I think as we were discussing before, the solution to that is going to be left up
Yeah.
to the owner and to his
Yeah,
contractor. If we say we
Yeah.
need to go back to the 800 square feet,
yeah.
it's not
That's the
up
only
to
way to
us
do
to
it.
be prescriptive about it.
Right.
It's not building, it's zoning, or it's not zoning, it's building.
Yeah, we're
Right.
talking about
Correct.
its building.
Yeah.
You had a motion, Jason. Go
Yes.
for it.
All right, I make motion to deny the variance to allow for a detached ADU that will be approximately 1,000 square feet in size. And I will note that in actuality is around 1,200 square feet. I feel that it is contrary to the public interest. I do not see any hardship addressed at all. I do not feel a 1,200 square foot house is appropriate for that location. It does alter the character of that neighborhood. I do not feel that it creates a nuisance to vehicles or pedestrians. I do not feel that there is appropriate buffer space to adjacent properties. And I cannot speak to the property values as neither side was proposed or offering proof either way. And this is in regards to the property at 140 South Mass Street, map 31, lot 7.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. I'm just going to offer one comment on this, and I think I can say from what I have heard and what I know of Mr. Moano and his other projects in town, his reputation as someone who is upright and does things by proper protocol is outstanding, and I don't think that there should be any imputations in any of these findings about any attempt at deceit or dishonesty on the part of the town, and I want to make that very clear before we vote.
I agree with that.
And if anyone else has any
I agree,
comments?
100%.
All right, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Mono, you've been denied.
Thank you very much for your time.
One minute break for my voice to recover.
You're fine.
That's a good idea.
You broken? That's not good.
You need to do some jumping jacks over there, you know. Stir it up.
That's what's gonna happen on our 2-minute breaks.
Hey, I noticed that you rolled your eyes when I said I had to write it down because I couldn't remember. Are you saying I'm old?
Well, I'm saying you're normal, wait till you're my age.
Unfortunately, Jason, some of us are older.
And we know exactly what you're making.
All right, if we're ready, let's get underway again, folks. We're going to go on to the next hearing, which is a rehearing. The Zoning Board of Adjustment on April 2nd, 2024 granted a rehearing request for the following application. Israel and Shannon Carey, applicant owner seeking a special exception and a variance to allow the keeping of chickens and a rooster on the property. A variance is required as the lot is under 2 acres and there are more than 10 chickens, as well as 1 rooster located on the property. Per sections 5.4.2.5, 5.4.2.5.1, and 5.4.2.5.2 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance on less than 2 acres. Only 10 chickens are permitted and no roosters are allowed. The property is 1 acre in size. The applicant is also requesting a special exception per sections 5.4.2.5 and 5.4.2.5.3 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance, as the chicken coop is located 20 feet from the side property line, whereas a 20-foot setback is required. The property is located at 16 Gorham Pond Road, map 7, lot 60, zoned agricultural/residential 1, and it's noted the chickens, rooster, and chicken coop are located within the agricultural zone portion of the property. Someone want to come up and speak? Please go ahead.
I just want to say, even though we had to sit there a while, you learn a lot.
Excuse me for just one second.
We're always looking for members.
No, I don't want to be a member. I don't want to.
We need alternates.
But you learn a lot.
So first off, motion to regional impact.
Good job, Jason. Anybody second that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then I'd like to say one other thing. So I made the motion at the last meeting to rehear the application. I probably should have said rehear the denied variance, not the entire thing.
The whole
Aren't they
application
separate?
opened up now.
Well, the application,
Oh, okay.
once
Right, that
once
was
the
my question,
plenary hearing, it's a de novo proceeding. We're hearing the
Okay.
whole
Good question.
application over again.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Can we just beat to the end of this?
What?
Meaning that under state law,
Well,
that they are allowed to,
let's let the applicant speak.
Yeah, you're supposed to let them come to that determination, Al.
No.
That's what you always tell me.
Yeah.
Before
We're getting punchy, I'm sorry.
Well, all right, wait, I have
You're
one other
fine.
procedural question.
no, I'm not.
Okay,
It's the truth.
Alan, Jason had a
So one other
procedure.
procedural question then. Could we make the motion to just approve the part that was approved originally and then just move to the second part?
I don't want to do
Okay, all right, fine.
that. I have a reason.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Hi, Shannon Carey, 16 Gorham Pond Road. So I love my husband very much, but I watched at home and I just went,
You're a lucky
why didn't you
woman.
say this? Why didn't you say that? Like all the things that in his defense, when it comes to our son, he works about 70 hours a week. So I handle all medical, I handle everything. I'm the one that drives Jack to Canterbury to this neuropsychologist once a month. And I deal with the chickens with Jack. We do all the work with the chickens, and Israel does not deal with a lot of it. But I think he was trying to take coming before you guys off my plate. So that's why a lot of stuff, like when it came to the rooster protecting the hens, like the whole purpose of having a rooster, when it came to, you know, the whole autism spectrum thing, we really, really try to teach our son, like, it's not an excuse. Like, you can't use it as an excuse. You can't use it to get away with things. In our defense, when we put all this and had chickens in the whole 9 yards, we had 8 chickens. That was what we started with. We went to Ace, got our 8 little chickens, and we were happy campers. And then, was it 4 or 5?
I don't know, they started getting eaten.
Yeah, they started, we'll just say 4 or 5 of them we lost. We were told never get chickens from Tractor Supply, but we learned that lesson the hard way, and we ended up with 3 roosters. So we offloaded 2 of them because the one rooster was, he fought off a bobcat, he did all these things. I'm like, this dude's amazing. We had no clue about the 10 chickens and no rooster. Where we live in our area, there are probably 8 or 9 people that have large quantities of chickens, with roosters. So we just assumed, which that's on us, never make an assumption, but that's on us. Again, we lost a couple chickens and we thought, okay, in this therapy process, there is something to be said for incubating eggs. And, you know, you can incubate 20 eggs and get 2 chickens. So when we ended up with more than 10, again, on us for not knowing that. We've always kept them clean, the area's clean. The abutting property owner who was complaining about rats or mice or whatever, I was really kind of confused by that because up until last year they had their own chickens. So I'm struggling to kind of understand how you can determine if it was their chickens, our chickens, or the fact we live in the woods. So,
Plus chickens are omnivores and will eat mice.
I was gonna say, they eat the mice anyway. They'll eat anything if it's in their run. So, I mean, I don't know if there's anything you want me to directly speak to that we've handed you when it comes to the therapy or Jack's diagnosis or anything, but I mean, ultimately, we're gonna honor what you guys need us to do, and we will probably have extra therapy sessions to help Jack work through whatever we have to do, but I mean, this isn't just like some pet project. This is something that, I'm sorry, this has like turned my kid around. Like, he really struggles socially, and the things that he has learned from this. Like, I know it sounds silly, like chicken. How can you freaking learn from chickens? But he has learned so much, and he has come so far. And I'm not gonna get into issues with neighbors, but the fact that it's come to a situation like this, that neighbors are behaving this way, like, it is what it is, and we're just gonna honor whatever it is that, you know, you guys need us to do. So, I don't really know what else to say about it.
You can stop right there.
Well, if I can speak to this, I think we would very much like to find a compassionate solution to this. I mean, one of the things with the variance wasn't to get rid of all your chickens.
No, I
It was
understand
just to
that.
reduce your flock to what was there. One of the things that we're allowed to do, and I will tell you, having read your request for rehearing, unfortunately, most of what you have to say about your poultry raising practices, et cetera, has absolutely nothing to do with zoning and nothing to do with any hardship related to the property. And that's the consideration that the board has to do. The hardship has to be something directly related to the property, because if we give a variance, that variance doesn't just stay with you as the current owners, that travels forward in perpetuity with the property itself. However, when you come to the point, and we do appreciate the work you've gone through to get the letter from the psychologist certifying the diagnosis and all of that, that's an extra mile that you went on this. There is a section of state law which allows the zoning board to make a variance determination without a finding of hardship. And I'll read you the section that we found on it because I think it's very, if I can get my own thumbs out of the way here, notwithstanding subparagraph blah, blah, blah. Any zoning board of adjustment may grant a variance from the terms of a zoning ordinance without finding a hardship arising from the condition of a premises subject to the ordinance when reasonable accommodations are necessary to allow a person or persons with a recognized physical disability to reside in or regularly use the premises. I think that is a solution that we can find tonight. It would give you a variance, and I would like to set, if we're talking about this, a numerical limit on the number of chickens, whether it's the 15 you have now and don't let the number go above 15 by whatever means. But it also allows us as a ZBA to limit this to you as the current owners and for as long as your son requires this type of therapy.
Okay.
I mean, I think that is probably the, pardon me, the fairest solution that we can come up with. You know, again, we're not trying to be mean to
No,
residents, and
it-
we're
it-
trying to come up with
honestly,
something that will give you
I
what
ju-
you need here.
I just look at it as, I have nothing against anybody here. You guys are just doing your job. Like, this is what you were elected to do. So I, like, when I was watching the meeting at home, I was more looking at him going, these people are trying to do their job, like you just answered. So I totally get where you guys are coming from, and, yeah. Yeah, so thank you.
So if you understand, if I need to make the motion, I'll
I
make the
do have
motion.
one
All right,
question,
Mr.
one
from
comment.
Denise.
Okay. I'm 100% in agreement with this. The only thing I have an issue with, and I don't have an issue, it's just the rooster is awfully close to your property line. Is there something you can do to move that a little bit further away?
That is his department, that's not mine.
Or is
I
it?
mean, do you know what I mean? If this is gonna make,
So that coop, when I put it in for security purposes, I dug down 8 inches and I ran hardware cloth and backfilled with rock.
If you're required, like I said, if you're requiring it, we'll do what we have to do. Well, it's gonna suck, but it is what it is.
Well, what's a rooster's natural lifespan? What if the rooster is not replaced when the rooster that you have passes from natural or other chicken
He
causes?
could die tomorrow, he could die 6 years from now.
I don't know how long he lives, I don't.
They can, well, over 10 years. I mean,
Well, again, something that would allow you your current flock, but you couldn't replace the rooster after it passes.
I'm
Again,
fine with that.
I have a question.
Jason?
How many chickens do you have now? Like, not rooster, chickens?
I believe it's 15 in the rooster.
yeah, I think it's 15 and the rooster.
Okay.
are you planning on being able to, hatch them again? Because that's such a learning experience.
We would like to, but if, like I said, if you guys are like, then we'll just.
So I'm just asking these questions out loud. Is that something that Jack would be able to handle them giving them away, selling them, but dealing with that, being able to develop that and, I'm just asking.
It's something I can talk to his therapist about, like, hey, if we want to continue to hatch because we're losing, like, say, argument's sake, we lose 3 chickens and we want to hatch more. So of course you throw a dozen eggs in, you could get 2, you could get a dozen.
Or you could just throw 6 eggs in.
But the point I'm trying to make, she's asking, and the point I'm trying to make is, it's something we can talk to the doctor about and say, hey, we're going to hatch, but he's only gonna get to keep 3. We need to figure out now how to help him work through maybe selling those chickens or finding someone who wants them.
I'll take them.
Okay, there you go.
All right,
Okay.
but this is the thing, I think, if we can
I want that
have
available.
a reasonable control so that your flock doesn't get any larger than existing, and then when the rooster goes, and you're just dealing with chickens at that point. And if that's some years in the future, perhaps your son will have made progress and will no longer be in need of the therapy animals. Again, this is something that, we're a section that we were glad to find where there is a way to help you deal with your problem without, again, I don't like to use that word precedent, but we don't want to set a bad precedent for the town, because
understand.
obviously the idea of having 10 chickens or less on properties less than 2 acres was to keep people from doing a full-fledged poultry operation in a
Look, I'm all set with
residential
that.
area.
I don't need that in my life.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just to,
Jason?
so the hatching and that process is also part of his learning? Okay, all right, so I'm ready to make the motion.
Yeah.
Once you're done
Well,
closing it and opening it and whatever else we're doing.
Okay. Well, let
Let's have
us
a
see.
discussion first.
I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate you digging and finding that, because I couldn't find anything like that in my searches, so I appreciate that you guys did that and looked for that.
Well, again, we're not, we try to serve the people of the town, and this is one of those things where I think just a hard and fast line would not have served anybody well, so I think it's a good solution for all concerned. You can stay where you are, but let me look in the back there. I don't see anybody in the back wanting to comment on that, so I think at this point, unless you've got something you want to add, I'll close the public hearing and the board will enter deliberations.
Well, why don't we just have a discussion first?
Alan, you obviously want to discuss.
Yeah, you know, I shouldn't tell you I've got chickens, but anyways. How old is Jack now?
13, just turned 13 in February.
So, say you make a limitation on a rooster for 10 years. Jack will be in his 20s. Hopefully, things will have leveled out a little bit.
He would be into cows and horses.
The other thing is, if you think about,
Don't give him ideas.
if you think about the process, is having chickens, but also little chickens. So now, you've got the producing chickens, and then you've got some that you're hoping will grow up and start producing.
Yes.
So, I'm thinking maybe 20 total. Regardless of age, 20 total.
Well, I will say, chickens really only produce for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then they're done. So at that point, like, we have a few chickens now that don't produce at all. They're just little fluff butts that walk around, and, you know, they're his buddies. But they only produce for so long. So, I mean, I like the number 20, but I'm gonna yield to what you guys are comfortable with. Because you guys know the ordinance and you know what people want, so.
It's not, you are in the country. I mean, it's not like you're downtown, number one. But you have a small lot, so what? You have the same rights as anybody that has 50 acres like I do.
But I do understand, like, was this ordinance put in place in 2019 is what I think somebody told
Oh, it
me?
was,
The residential chickens, it's been 10 or 15 years.
Has it? Okay.
It's been in
It's-
place.
someone said something
Agricultural
about-
law,
it was,
isn't it?
it was an
Half.
amendment, it was an amendment to the zoning ordinance in 2012.
Okay, so, because someone had told me part of the reason that was put in place was because there were people like trying to have full-on poultry operations, which I totally agree with. When you have a lot like that, like our size, and you do have neighbors, you do have to be considerate. And I don't want to be inconsiderate to my neighbors. That's not my intention. I want them to enjoy living on their property, because like you're saying, we have just as much rights as somebody else. They have the right to enjoy their property too, and I do understand that.
Well, there's two ways to change it in this town. And that's a town meeting, town vote, by petition. You could change the ordinance if you want to get the voters to approve it. Okay, that's one way. The other way is you're
This.
here,
Mhm.
okay? My biggest problem is I already designed a farm in Barnstead that has 10,000 chickens.
God bless you.
Well, you just designed the barn.
Well, that's not gonna be that's not gonna be the number I put in my motion.
I would vote that one down myself.
Well, but the thing is,
He definitely would.
there are municipalities like Dunbarton that won't allow chickens, even if you have a farm.
Well, but
And what
that's
is their
not, but
reason,
that's
what is
not,
their reasoning for that?
Because they live the abutters got and sued the farmer to prevent him from having chickens.
But again, Alan,
That's
that's
not
that's
Goffstown.
Dunbarton, that's not Goffstown, and that's not our
Well,
ordinance.
It can happen, believe me.
I will thank you for bringing up the consideration though, because I hadn't thought about chickens that didn't produce, so. Actually,
They
but
produce
that's a
for about
reasonable.
3 or 4 years.
Oh, I
It
had
depends on the
chickens
breed.
too, so,
It depends on the breed, so.
What? You had a
No,
motion, you had a
no, yeah,
motion roiling
motion, yeah.
around there, Jason?
Okay, so, I have a motion to approve the special exception and variance to allow the keeping of chickens and a rooster at the property where the lot is under 2 acres and there are more than 10 chickens as well as 1 rooster. As the chicken coop is located 20 feet from the side property line where its 50-foot setback is required with the following provisions. A maximum of 19 chickens and 1 rooster, and this variance and special exception shall survive only so far as the particular person has need of or resides at the premises as per section 674-33 of the state planning, local land use planning and regulatory powers.
Second.
Why 19?
Because that makes 20
Plus
chickens.
120.
Yeah, plus the rooster makes.
20 chickens
Total.
total.
Okay,
Should we,
I'd be in favor of a lower, the 15 originally we're talking about, but I will see there's a motion and a second on the floor.
I just have one comment. Should we restrict the size of the coop to what it is today?
Oh, I would.
Definitely the footprint of it.
Yeah,
The foot-
That coop itself couldn't handle more than the number he's giving. And I'm not spending money on another coop.
That's, okay, so I'd like to put that in the motion, that you
Yeah.
can't increase the
Nope.
footprint of.
To me, it is what
Okay.
it is. That's
That's
not
fine.
getting.
I will
Okay.
say now, the only thing I plan on doing is trying to cover part of it, so in the winter, I don't have to shovel it.
That's where the run is?
Yeah, just where the road is.
Just where the road is.
That's fine. I don't want
But that's working on the existing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's-
I don't
that's
want to
not
expand
going
it. There's no
outside.
room there to expand it anyway.
Yeah,
I know,
would-
but I'm just
would-
making that so that it's
It's in writing, I totally
I
get
accept
that.
that.
crossing our
change.
Ts, dotting the Is.
Get it.
Okay.
All right,
You
any
still
further,
accept that, Alan?
Yes.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You have your variance, folks.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much, and I'm sure Jack will be.
Well, once-
And thank you for
once-
sharing with us.
Well, once
Yeah.
again,
Definitely.
we try to find solutions. You went the extra mile in providing your son's diagnosis, and, again, hopefully we found a solution that works for everyone.
It's never enjoyable
Hold
than
on,
others.
hold on, we got more stuff here.
Oh, we
have
ain't done,
a
we ain't done
vote.
yet.
Oh, we're all set with you.
Yeah, we're all set.
I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
No, we're done with, we're done with you, we're just not done with the rest of them.
Thank you very much.
Okay, under correspondence, we have, if you saw them in your package, 3 requests for a rehearing on the canopy on the gas station on North Mast Road. I'm open to any thoughts or comments anyone has.
I have not seen anybody bring in new information.
I was gonna say
From
this.
2004. 2004. That's all they produced again.
I mean, the things that I've seen, we had 3 requests for rehearing. Basically, they were all the same request that took one abutter's comments and parroted it across all 3. And I, like Denise, I did not see any new information that came in on that as well. So I would not be in favor of rehearing it.
See, when I make the motions all night.
Go for
I would
it.
make
I
them
love it.
that, But I would ask
You
Alan.
can take Denise's job. you know.
I would ask Alan.
Shoot it, yeah.
I would ask Alan to recuse himself from this first, though.
Oh, good, good.
Yes.
Alan recused himself.
Well, we can't make him turn his chair to the wall.
Well,
but
no,
we will
he needs
consider
to,
him
he
recused.
needs to,
You
he
feel
can
that
only,
you
he's
need
the only one
to
that can
recuse
make that
yourself?
choice.
Yes. I will not participate in the vote.
All right, and You're up. You're voting on this.
I'm voting on this?
Yes, because he's recusing
You're
himself.
being called up to the majors
Yeah,
now.
I'm in favor.
All right, I make a motion to deny the rehearing request, finding that there's no additional information that was brought up in any of the requests for rehearing.
Second.
Discussion?
You
All
guys
in
are too
favor?
quick.
Aye.
You
Aye.
don't even give me a chance to say
Aye.
anything.
Sorry. Aye.
Opposed? Motion for rehearing denied.
Don't, I got one piece of business.
All right, go for it,
So
Alan.
scary.
That's my resignation from the board.
Oh, yeah?
I have some other things going on in my life that I have to take care of.
Alan, you will be missed.
I'm sure.
Do we have to accept that?
Well,
I'll come hug you.
Oh, I don't want him to hug me.
don't worry.
No
I
problem
won't-
there.
It's just fishing trips.
Don't worry, I won't hug you. Alan,
No,
you've served this board faithfully for many, many years.
I just,
He's our historian.
I'm turning 80 years old.
Wow.
Okay, you're
Wow.
older. You're older than. You're
Look
older.
at us, we're
you're
all
older
like,
than-
whoa.
you're older
Older than
than-
dirt.
So what?
I'm right behind
So what
And
was
you
it
didn't
like
even write
living with
anything
dinosaurs?
No, it's time. And we have another member here that have full faith can step into my shoes. They have fun doing it.
Well, we won't guarantee the fun part, but
Yeah, I
we
know.
know he's good for the shoes.
Oh, he's fun.
So
Where'd that come from?
We're buying a home in Florida,
Oh, good for you.
so I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, actually.
You can't be closing Rainbow Land. Our kids live for Rainbow Land.
Yeah, they did.
My kids grew up
Oh,
there.
did they?
Oh, yeah,
Two of them.
yeah. No, my wife and I are gonna do a little traveling and a little vacationing.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Nice.
A little living.
congratulations.
I'll talk to you after the meeting, where I'm going.
Huh?
I have to talk to you after the meeting. That's
Oh, I just got back. I've just spent 3 weeks in Florida.
good for you.
Well, I make a motion to accept Alan's resignation with regret.
I will second it
With regret.
with regret.
Wish me good.
Okay, but
One-
anyways,
one note,
I
we-
wish you the best, but you haven't seen the last of me yet.
Okay,
Okay, good, because we like the historian part,
yes,
so.
it's very good.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm just glad I don't have to come back again for a rehearing.
Oh, you're gosh. Jim,
Oh, yeah, so now we have to, well, actually, he's got to decide that it's time for that.
no, oh, no, you can, we're gonna vote for the
Oh,
chair, you can
I would
nominate.
nominate Len to be the chair of the
I second.
2024 board.
Okay, I guess I'm stuck.
See what you get for showing up?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye,
I,
Get a vote him in for chair.
He is chair.
No, New Year,
for the
New
new year.
Year.
New Year.
we didn't do it in
Yeah,
April
yeah,
because I was in the cardiac ward, thank
That's
you
right.
very
Oh,
much.
yeah,
so.
right.
I nominate Denise here for vice chair.
Second,
She's up
Do you
too.
accept?
all in favor?
Aye.
There we go. And we need to do something with John now,
Yes.
Yes.
because he's now, what do we have to do to make him a permanent member?
Full-fledged member?
I believe we just have to, if you're willing, John, we'll just vote tonight to appoint
Ready,
you
willing, and
as
able.
as a full member of the board.
I motion, can I motion?
I'm not motioning.
I am motioning him.
Matter of
because
fact, I'm saying no.
I accept.
I motion that
leaving town.
John become a permanent member, voting member.
I just got some other.
Okay,
I
so
second.
If I have-
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Now we gotta start getting more alternates on this board again.
Yeah,
we got
Is my job
well,
never
something
done?
tonight.
Welcome aboard.
Meeting adjourned?
Meeting
All right,
adjourned.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.